My name is Myung Kun Park. I was born in 1934 in the Hwanghae province of Korea, which is currently belong to North Korea. Myung Kun in Korean was Meikong in Japanese, so my Japanese name was Kunimoto Meikong. My earliest childhood memories is what happened during Japanese occupation. Most of my elementary school was under Japanese rule. Only Japanese was allowed at school. Anytime we had to speak Korean, because we didn't know what it meant in Japanese, we had to raise hand and get permission. So when I was in the first grade, Second World War started. And they were doing very well at the beginning. And when we was in second grade, they gave us free rubber ball, which was very rare. That's when they invaded Singapore. So they were getting rubber. So the Japanese emperor gave all students one white rubber ball. That was a big occasion. Later on, Second World War was not going well for Japanese. I was once caught on crying by my oldest brother. He asked me, why am I crying? School teacher told us that if Yankees win, they're going to come and cut off our nose, fingers, and things like that. That's why I am crying. My father and my oldest brother laughed, and then they told me that I am old enough to know what the history is. Japan is losing. We are a completely different race. We want Japanese to lose. And then I suddenly realized that how misinformed we were. That means Japanese were in fact succeeding in brainwashing young children. I was very happy because every family member was happy to be liberated from Japanese. In 1945, when we were liberated, that happiness lasted a few months. Then we learned that Korean peninsula was going to be divided into North and South. But something happened. In the first celebration of March 1st movement, 3.1 운동, some other members were actually participants in that movement. But then newly arrived Communist Party chairman went up to the podium and he criticized leaders of the movement because it failed. He said, movement failed because it was led by religious organizations. If it was led by Communist Party, like Soviet Revolution, they would have succeeded. My father so got angry. He went up to the podium and criticized the newly arrived Communist Party chairman. That's an insult to our national movement. And where were you? Communist Party didn't even exist then. So everybody, cheered my father. And then his friend went up and then repeated the same thing, this is an insult to our national liberation movement. And then 2 days later, policemen came and arrested my father and the other person, and they were sent to prison. He ended up serving 3 years in prison as an anti-government, anti-communist element. So our plan to move to the south, it's gone. We could not move to south when our father was in jail. 3 years in the middle school, I had the worst experience in my life. The school principal came, newly arrived school principal. He was really devout communist. And since he knew that my father was in jail, he wanted to destroy me. His official residence was right next door to us. My mother helped them with the farm product, and he never thanked for it. And then, as I said, I was class president all my life, but he didn't want me to be class president. He never gave me A on his topic that he taught. That was the Constitution. And the middle school teacher openly criticized me in class. I was the son of a prisoner. And I almost cried. I graduated from middle school, and then this middle school principal was promoted to county high school principal. And he wanted all of us to come to his high school. I couldn't do that. So I decided to go to high school in different county. I went to Gwangju High School, which is a very well-known city directly south of Pyongyang, where my family background was not known. And then interesting story was toward the end of the year, North Korean KGB. KGB, that's a spy institution. KGB called me to come to their office. My heart just dropped. Oh, finally they found out our family background, and they're going to punish us because we lied about family background. The following day, I went to KGB office, which I didn't even know, because it was behind the brick wall. The security knew my name. Okay, Captain, somebody came as waiting on the second floor for you. I went up there, and he smiled and shook hands with me and let me sit. So I was not that worried. And then he wanted me to be his informant. He wanted me to come to every Friday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and tell me what I heard and what I saw at school. It didn't matter whether it was a principal or a teacher, a friend, anything good or bad, talking about politics, he wanted to hear me. Even if it's your father, your family member, you ought to report to the government. That kind of brainwashing. But anyway, I just made up stories. A school political teacher said this and that. They wouldn't harm him, because he was a devout Communist Party member. But then 2 weeks later, my sister got the same thing. That tells you what kind of a society it is. Everybody is watching everybody. 2 weeks after the Korean War broke out, they took away my oldest brother, and he never came home. I'm sure he had very miserable end. But then our second younger brother, who was in Seoul, we didn't know whether he was alive or not. And then my sister, who lived only 20 miles away, she didn't come home either. So it turns out that I may turn out to be the only surviving son. In September, Incheon landing was successful, and that cut off People's Army's supply lines, and Seoul was retaken by UN troops. UN troops advanced to North Korea, and our hometown was finally liberated. I thought this is the time to show my parents I have grown up, I am strong, I can take care of them. So I wanted to join self-defense forces. My father said, okay. So first time I carried the guns, I knew how to fire. But then that freedom lasted only 6 weeks. When the Chinese so-called volunteer army entered Korean War, UN troops had to retreat. One day, there was thousands of people just moving into our town from northern part of the country. They said they were moving to South Korea. So we had to move. So my family left, but I told my father that I'm going to stay here and defend our town with the defense forces. But then 2 days later, 10 o'clock in the evening, a reconnaissance battalion came and told us, you guys are so stupid. You guys there are ants coming in, tens of thousands of Chinese coming just within an hour. You are crazy. We are leaving. If you want to join us, we'll give you a ride. So that's when I joined South Korean Army. And I didn't realize I was in the active duty. I was 16 years old. So I became active soldier without knowing what I was doing. During one of the attacks, one of the battles, I got bullet wound on my left leg. So I was transferred to 7th Military Hospital in Miryang. I got treated for 6 weeks, and then they decided I don't fit to be remaining in active duty. I was 17. I got discharged as a wounded soldier, but I had no really physical disability. My sister escaped somehow the following spring, and then she met my second older brother in Suwon, where he was working as English translator. So I found them just before I got discharged, so I met them in Suwon. And I was hoping to go back to school, so I cut my hair short. But then within a week, I knew I couldn't go to high school, so I decided to find a job. I found a job as a security guard for a small U.S. Army unit. It's called the CID, Criminal Investigation Detachment, Suwon branch. It had only one Quonset building, 2 soldiers. Turned out to be that was the perfect job for me. I worked there 1 year, and I preferred the night shift because there was nothing to guard. No SEPT was coming in. Sometimes there were no American soldiers. The Quonset was built empty. Guards post, there was always light. Those days, civilian lights went out at 10 o'clock, but we had the light 24 hours a day. And I decided to study high school course. I studied 3 years of high school course in 1 year. So by the end of the year, I felt that I could try college entrance exam. My uncle knew someone who had owned a high school. So I was able to enter in the second semester of graduating 12th grade. Because of that, I was able to get high school diploma. That's required to sit for entrance examination. I looked at all different colleges. It turned out to be Seoul University tuition was 1/3. I applied Seoul University, pre-medical course. It was a 7-to-1 competition. The 7 kids in row, am I the best in this row? No. But anyway, miraculously, I was successful in Seoul University pre-medical course. But there was 8 hours every day, 4 hours Saturday. So basically, they were teaching everything that college course, but in 2 years. By the time I graduated, I was number 2 in Seoul University pre-medical course. So I said, well, if I can make number 2, why can't I become number 1? So my goal was, when I advanced to medical school, my goal was number 1. In fact, I did that. I graduated first. In my graduating class, I received Presidential Gold Medal from President of Seoul University. I lived under 5 national flags. First one was the Japanese when I was in elementary school. Next 5 years was North Korea. Next 8 years was South Korean flag. And there was 1 year we lived in Canada. And then United States flag. Well, fortunately, there's nothing I would regret. I think that's why I think that somebody was guiding me through difficult times and dangerous times and happy times. My name is Myung Kun Park, and this is my Korean American story.